Hello, I'm Graham Jones and welcome to channel KT4 broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. You can join in by sending in questions during the show. Just press the comments button on the screen. Don't forget to click the like or share buttons. If you're watching on YouTube, please click to subscribe to channel KT4. It's free. I'm so pleased to welcome to my virtual studio Chris Hastings, the artistic director of the Satisfied Eye International Film Festival, which takes place in Epsom. Hi, Chris, and welcome to channel KT4.
Hi, Graham. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, it's brilliant. I'm so pleased. I've heard so much about the festival, and I'm just really pleased that you've managed to find the time to come in and talk to us all about it, which is really good. Now, you sent me very kindly a little trailer from last year's festival. So just to get us all in the mood a little bit, should we have a look?
Wonderful.
Chris, that's absolutely awesome. Whoever put that together is an absolute genius.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I've seen that so many times now, and I still get a slight lump in my throat because kind of watching that reminds me why we do it and why I do it and why I never sleep. That's why we do the festival, for things like that.
Okay, I mean, it is very cleverly put together, and it really does give a really great overview of this wonderful festival. And but tell me, how did the festival come about?
There's a couple of reasons. Firstly, in terms of me and in terms of what I do, I'm a filmmaker and games writer, so I kind of straddle two worlds. The film industry, in terms of film festivals, I think there's probably a misconception of what film festivals are. They're not the exciting, glamorous thing that everybody thinks they are. They're actually more business affairs. Whereas games expos, which are kind of the equivalent, are celebratory events, and they have live music and they have cosplay, and there's lots of fun and things to do. And just having spent so much of my career and life going to both, I decided to actually combine the two into something that doesn't really exist in many places. There are a few out there, and Epsom is just perfectly located. It's a 30-minute train ride from London. We've got lots and lots of creatives here. We've got lots and lots of facilities. We've got UCA, we've got Nescott, etc. So it was the decision to actually create something that doesn't certainly exist anywhere locally, or certainly not regionally, and something that could help promote the town, Epsom, and the people who work here. There is also the other side of the coin in terms of film festivals. The films that you see in cinemas make up a tiny percentage of the films that are actually made. Less than 1% of films made get into cinemas. So most people don't get to see all the incredible films out there. And I was really keen and eager to actually show people there is so much more talent. There is so much more to watch out there than repeats and reboots and the latest Avengers movie. Not to say that they're not great movies. I love all of those. But this is a chance to promote all of those things. So it's kind of bringing all of those things together.
Yeah, that's great. And I can believe 1%, you're saying. That's absolutely incredible. Yeah. Only 1%. So I think you sort of told me, but I still want to ask the question: what actually is a film festival?
It's one of those odd
things. It's a bit of a corporate thing, but just put a bit more meat on the bone here, Chris, for me.
There's a certain arrogance, because whenever I talk about a film festival, I assume that everybody knows what a film festival is because it's somewhere that shows films. But actually, taking a step or two back, that's not true at all. That's not a film festival. Film festivals, how I describe them, so that the film festivals that most people know, things like Cannes, Berlin, etc., are actually film markets, and they are. I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I suppose they're a bit like a farmer's market. They're where people go and buy and sell films, and they really are business affairs. You do have other kinds of film festivals which are very much about showing local films, or they might be genre festivals. There's a very good sci-fi one that I like in London. Ours, in terms of Satisfied Eye, is kind of a bit of all of these things. So it's a film festival that is very much just promoting the best films from around the world. So that's really all we're trying to do. We're trying to promote great films, but also introduce them to audiences that don't actually know they probably even exist.
Okay, thanks very much for that. Now, here's a big question for you, Chris. How is the Satisfied Eye International Film Festival actually funded? As I'm sure it costs more to present than just the revenue of the ticket sales. A big question, I know.
It's quite an interesting one, because in our first year, before we'd even launched, and when we were just discussing launching a film festival, I went and got advice from a number of artistic directors. And actually, there's a book by a festival artistic director called John Gann, where he interviews a number of festival directors, and he asks them all what's the one piece of advice he'd give to new festival directors. And the most common piece of advice from all those festival directors is don't start a film festival. But I ignored that advice. But I got some advice from somebody who'd actually, it's the person who originally started TIFF, which is the Toronto International Film Festival, which is one of the biggest festivals in the world. And they told me that really, unless you have a budget of at least 70,000, then there's just no point even starting. We have an annual budget of 9,000. So I think what we do on that is incredible. And in the first year, that was largely me. I largely bankrolled the festival. Since then, as we've been growing, and we're now into our fourth year, this will be our fourth year. It's a mix of sponsorship. It's a mix of ticket sales. And also, so any filmmaker who wants to submit to any film festival in the world, whether or not that's Sundance, whether or not that's us, whether or not that's some tiny little festival out in the sticks, they use a platform called Film Freeway. And they are charged to go on Film Freeway, so we get some of the revenue from that. So we are a completely voluntary event. We're not setting out to make money. We just try and break even every year. And actually, last year was the first time we managed to do that. And considering that was in the middle of a pandemic, that was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I think it's quite amazing, isn't it? That I can see the difficulty in trying to draw in this money to make the festivals happen, because the problem is, Chris, I mean, I think like me, we're sort of creative people, and we kind of like think of the creative part of it, and when it comes to the more corporate business, where do we draw funds from and things like that, it all gets a bit harder, I think, than just being creative.
Excitement's not enough, and I think that's the trouble. I think creatives tend to be, very excited about what they're doing, and trying to project that is simple enough. But when you're actually trying to impress upon people what an event like this can actually provide, we had to do lots of things that I've never even thought about before. So, in our first year, we were going out literally counting out how many people were walking down the street during the course of the week before, the week during the festival, the week after the festival, etc., and counting footfall and things like that. So yeah, it's an interesting experience.
Yeah. Now, out of the film festivals you presented, now this is the $1 million question, this one, Chris. Right, out of all those that you presented, what's been a big kind of like stand out highlight, Chris?
There's probably been a couple. Let's just try and think. Yes, so there's two that I can think of. So in our first year, we had 3 screenings in the Ashley Centre in Epsom for children. So we just set up a screening there, thanks to the Ashley Centre, and we just had seats there, and the children could go and watch the films, and they would just run on a loop. And then at the closing ceremony, one of the films that was screened as part of that won an award. Liam Harris, Perched, still one of my favourite films that we've screened. And when we announced the award, there was a cheer from the audience, because our closing award ceremony is a mix of local people. It's, anybody can come along. It's people who've come to see the films, and also the filmmakers. And it was just a really lovely moment, because once again, that's what the film festival is all about. It's people who would never have even heard of this film before have come along to the festival, then come along to the closing award ceremony, and they felt a connection with that filmmaker and that film. They've watched it, they've enjoyed it, and they cheered when his name was announced. And of course, that's brilliant for the filmmaker as well, because he's getting that connection that he wouldn't normally have. So that's just one of those special moments that kind of encapsulates everything that the festival is about. Another one, which is a very different memory, is we had a film called Letter from Masanjia, which is a documentary about a Chinese man who was working in a forced Chinese labor camp. And they were completely randomly in this labor camp, they were making, trying to think what you call them, like Halloween decorations. So polystyrene tombstones. And he, risking, literally his life, he wrote a message which he deposited into this polystyrene tombstone, which then ended up with some completely random lady in, I think it's Oregon, somewhere in the States anyway, telling her about his life and asking for help, basically. And she took this to the authorities, and this is the documentary about that. And that one brave moment committed by this Chinese gentleman actually changed the way these labor camps were run. It became a big news story. And I just remember standing outside the screening room after this film, and literally everybody who came out of there was sobbing, blowing their nose, eyes were red, and people were coming. This is before COVID, so people were coming up and hugging me and saying, "Oh my God, that was just incredible! Everybody needs to see this." And once again, it's a film that you would never hear of otherwise, and it's wonderful to be able to show to people these incredible films, these incredible filmmakers, and these incredible stories.
It's incredible how film as music has a big impact on people's lives and tells really important stories and gets very important messages across. Their like all entertainment events, I'm sure the pandemic has had an impact on the festival. As the festivals actually around the world, they've all had their problems. But for you, Chris, what's the biggest impact as the artistic director of Satisfied Eye International Film Festival?
It's slightly strange, because the film festival industry has really changed during the pandemic. A lot of people are now using it as an excuse, and I don't mean that in a negative way. A chance is probably a better word, as a chance to make their festivals either hybrid or completely virtual. So hybrid is a mix of virtual and live events. My belief, just from I spent a large part of my career going to festivals around the world, is that nothing will ever replace the live experience. So my intention is just to not have a virtual event. I really don't see the value in it. Now, we were incredibly lucky last year. We had chosen our dates. We ran the festival at the Odeon Cinema in Epsom, and we literally managed to squeeze the festival in before the next lockdown. The lockdown happened the week after, so I feel like a cat that's used its 9 lives in one go. So we're being very, very cautious this year in terms of when we're going to run the next festival. So we, oddly enough, haven't thus far been hugely impacted by it. But in terms of planning for the next festival, we are being impacted by it. We actually we were really concerned that nobody was going to come to the last festival because, we were mid, this is October, numbers were still quite high, and I'm high risk. So, I was really, really keen and eager to make sure that we were very, very hot on, all the conditions and requirements of making sure that we were completely COVID safe and compliant. And we had to, go ahead and hope that other people were going to feel that what we were doing was right and was safe and would turn up. And as I've already said, it was our most successful festival so far. We sold out, most of our events, and I think people were just so desperate to get out there and to have some entertainment, having been locked away for so long. But in terms of going forward, we do need to keep a very careful eye on what's going on at the moment, because it's very nebulous in terms of what's happening with COVID.
Yeah, I mean, just picking out from what you've just been saying, Chris, you were saying about the mix of virtual and actual, having people in cinemas and events, and how important it is to keep it live. I had the pleasure last week of going to a music awards ceremony in London, and it's the first time I've been out, and it was live music in a really intimate location. So I was kind of like 6 foot from the stage and watching some incredible music, but you just get that vibe of the space, and being there live and watching it was just tremendous. And it's the same, being in a great theatre, watching a movie on a huge screen, you get the same effect. You can't replicate it anywhere else, can you?
Not, and certainly in terms of, because what's so important to us is actually bringing filmmakers and film goers together, and normal people. Not saying that filmmakers aren't normal; they're not. I'm one. But the just everyday average cinema goers. We're not a festival that focuses on your obsessive cinephile. We're people who like absolutely anything and everything. And that's a big part of what being a filmmaker is. It's connecting with those people. So to not have a live event, it's so sad. And last year we did have Q&As that we'd pre-recorded, and some that we did live, but it's just not the same.
I agree. Yeah. Now, Chris, yes, I've put together some pictures of the festival, because a picture paints 1,000 words, doesn't it? So can you talk us through them? And so I'm going to put the first one up, and you talk through it, and then I'll keep flipping them through. And okay, here we go. Let's try the first one.
Okay. Yep. So in our first year, we shot a promo video, which was using a lot of cosplayers. And this is one of the cosplayers that we shot outside Hattie's Sweet Shop in Epsom. And this is very much part and parcel of the festival. As I was saying earlier, that I cross these two divides in terms of film and game. Games expos tend to have cosplay and this kind of thing. So I really wanted to bring that to the festival, just because it brings some fun and celebratory feel to an event that could otherwise feel quite businesslike. Okay.
What does that mean?
Cosplay. So cosplay is essentially this. It's people who dress up in costumes that are heroes. It can be anything. It can be TV shows, superheroes. It can be Doctor Who, Batman, etc. And it's basically a lot of people who do it for very different reasons.
Okay. See, you were straight into film speak then. Here we go. Next one.
Oh, so this is once again. So this is Bumblebee, who we filmed as part of the same promo. So that's unbelievably, that's somebody in their own costume that they've made. On the right was our opening ceremony, where we had a Star Wars themed opening ceremony, and we had some stunt people from the last Star Wars movie, and one of them jumped off the roof of Epsom Square.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing.
There is one of those big green bags down below, just so you clearly can't see that, but she didn't jump to her death or anything, so all quite safe.
Okay, then. All right, here's the next one.
Okay, so that's our festival poster from last year, and once again, we were very fortunate. So we worked with a company that had actually designed one of the Star Wars movie posters, and I think they did the terrible for a filmmaker to have forgotten the name of the film. It was no, I've forgotten it. It's the Stephen King sequel to The Shining. Anyway, so yeah, they've made lots of posters, and they very kindly designed our poster for us. The other thing is, so a part of the festival, one of the things we look to do is mentor local creatives and things. So we're looking to produce documentary. We are producing a documentary, a feature film, an online TV series. So on the left is the poster for the feature film that we're looking to produce locally.
Oh, that's exciting. I'd like to, I'll come back to you about that at some point, because that's really interesting. Using local creatives to do things like films, documentaries, and even music performances and various things is really exciting, and something we should be doing far more of, I think. Here's another picture. Now, I like this one.
Oh, there you go. Well, I was telling you the story of the film at the award ceremony, where the people applauded, and this was the film that it relates to, Perched by Liam Harris. So this is the free screenings that we had in the Ashley Centre.
That's really good. And finally,
this is one of our opening ceremonies, where you've got the mayor on the right hand side, and all the people waiting for things to kick off on the left hand side. We had just under 500 people packed into Epsom Square for the event. So we try and I tap into a bit of P.T. Barnum. I like to create a bit of fun and razzmatazz for the festival, just to make sure that it's something that just brings the whole town together and creates some excitement.
I think it's a great thing to have in Epsom, to create all that excitement and get all those people together. Long may it continue. And in saying that,
yep,
I'm sure lots of people are actually now asking, when's the next festival? Do we have a date yet? Do we have a period where people can come out and get to the theatre and enjoy the festival and everything that's going to be going on in Epsom town?
We don't have a date. So, as a lot of people in Epsom will hopefully know, there's a new cinema opening in Epsom, Picture House, and we've been talking to Epsom Square about holding the festival there. Unfortunately, actually, it's not just, we can't just blame COVID. It's due also to the really strange weather we've been having, going between torrential rain and ridiculously hot weather. There's been continual delays with the building of that. So we were meant to be having the festival as normal. It's normally an October festival. We're now going to be delaying until May of next year, when the cinema was going to be opening. The cinema has been delayed again, so we're now looking at alternative options. What we couldn't really do in October is have an outdoor event, because I think every time we've held a festival, there's probably been grey skies and rain. Having changed to May, what we're currently looking at is the possibility of actually having an outdoor event. So we don't have dates at the moment, but we're looking at May. We also have to be very careful, because it's the Queen's Platinum Jubilee next year, so we want to make sure we don't clash with that, because as big as we are, and we're rated, out of, I think there's 10,000 or over 10,000 film festivals in the world, and we're rated in the top 100, which is quite nice. But even with that, we can't compete with the Queen. And I know that she's visiting Epsom during her celebrations next year, so we're doing everything we can at the moment to make sure we don't clash with that.
I know. I think it's going to be a very, very busy year for Epsom next year, as it is. But I'm excited about this, having the festival outside. Where would you consider? Have you got any venues that you're researching at the moment?
the intention has always been for the festival to be more than just a film festival. My favourite festivals, I was going to say the best festivals, but that's unfair for festivals that don't want to do this. My favourite festivals, there's one in Crystal Palace. I mentioned, I think earlier, the London Sci-Fi Film Festival, tend to be just celebratory events. So there's not just films. There's these the cosplayers, there's live music, there might even be theatre, there's just lots of things going on. So we've always wanted to evolve to be more like that. So actually having an outdoor event makes sense. So we've already talked to the council about the possibility previously of Rosebery Park, where we've looked at the possibility, actually, just because it's a very good enclosed space, of Epsom Square. We haven't spoken to them about it, so it might be the first thing they've heard about it, because the Epsom Racecourse is such a good location. We've been there before, looking at holding events there. There are Bourne Hall is a lovely venue. Certainly from our perspective, it's almost like a blank canvas. So there's a lot of places within Epsom and Ewell that we could use, and we would like to probably, going forward and as we evolve, become an event that has a kind of core central home where it's based, but has other satellite events, as I say, like the Crystal Palace Film Festival, which is a very good one that does something very similar.
Yeah, because there are a lot of parts in Epsom and Ewell, in the various areas of Epsom and Ewell. Kind of over here where I am in Cuddington, we have the Big Day Out, which is a big coming together of the local residents, and everybody comes out and has a fun day out. And there's all sorts of other little bits all happening around the borough. It's absolutely amazing what's going on here in Epsom and Ewell. But I know a lot of it is in Epsom itself, but in Epsom and Ewell there's quite a lot. Chris,
yeah.
I've got to say many thanks for joining me here on Channel KT4. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you about the Satisfied Eye International Film Festival, especially as will be taking place once again at some point next year in Epsom. Right, so good luck for the festival. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Chris Hastings.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. My pleasure. So next Tuesday, I and local residents will be taking part in a walk for safety to highlight our concerns about the safety of Old Malden Lane and Barrow Hill. If you'd like to join in, we're meeting at the Hogsmill Toby Tavern at 5 p.m. I hope to see you there. I'm Graham Jones. Come and join me, not only for the walk for safety, but also for next week's programme, where my guest will be a spokesperson from the charity Love Me and Love My Mind. Until then, stay safe and keep smiling. Bye now.